We are one third of the way through 2025 and entering a part of the year that is historically the most busy time for Greater Toronto Area real estate. Now, the first 4 months of this year have been full of enough geopolitical and geoeconomic stories to last many people a lifetime. It's definitely hampered some consumer confidence. Will that change going forward? Well, in today's video, I want to provide a recap of where we are today, what April looked like compared to previous Aprils, and where we may be headed for the rest of the year. Hey, if you're new here, my name's Rob Marsiglio. I'm a sales representative with Valerie Real Estate, Canada's first ever AI-powered brokerage. Each week on this channel, my goal is to provide you with actionable insights to what is happening in the Greater Toronto Area real estate market. So if you enjoy that kind of content, consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel so you don't miss my updates going forward. The big story in GTA real estate this year has been active inventory. We're seeing it climb to levels that we haven't seen since 2008. And as per the Habistat, at the end of April 2025, we were at 26,408 active listings. Now, how does this compare to previous years? You can see this faint pink line is 2025, and it is far away. All year has been much higher than any prior year that we've seen. Back in 2024, a year ago at this time, we had just over 18,000 listings. So we're up over 8,000 active listings at this point in the year from where we were last year. If you're a seller, what does this mean? It means a lot more competition, more than likely, in your market. I'm sure that driving through neighborhoods, you've seen more for sale signs popping up. As a buyer, it's the exact opposite though. Maybe a sign of hope that your home search, your house hunt, maybe a little bit more relaxed than it has been for the past few years. You have a bit more time to think about properties, a bit more time to consider offers, strategies for offers, conditions in those offers, etc. Here's a breakdown across all property types of those 26,000 or so active listings that we do have right now. So the lion's share comes in that Toronto market where we have 10,749 active listings. And you're going to go down to York region where you've got just shy of 5,300 active listings. Peel was just shy of 5,000 active listings at the end of April. And then Halton and Durham region come in at 2,900 or so and just shy of 2,500. When we dig into those regions a little bit more, we'll look at detached properties first. You can see some more interesting trends. So right now, York region actually leads the pack in terms of detached active listings for sale with just shy of 2,800. Then Toronto comes in at around 2,500 active listings. Peel region around 2,300 active listings. And then Halton and Durham region again, really neck and neck there with just shy of 1,500 active listings each. If you compare these numbers historically going back, you can see Toronto is well above kind of the peaks they hit back in 2019, whereas York region is shy of the kind of detached flood of inventory that we saw from late 2017 onwards. Peel region is another market that is kind of much higher than we've seen previous peaks back through 2017 through 2019, whereas Halton and Durham region, I'd argue, are a little bit more in line with what we saw back then. Everywhere is definitely up from the kind of tight inventory markets that we experienced back in 2021. The big inventory story has been those Toronto condos, though. You can see that in terms of condo apartments, Toronto has just over 6,100 active listings, and every other market is up from their prior peaks. But, the lion's share of those condo listings and just the inventory in general is that Toronto condo mark. So that's 6,000 of the 26,000 or so active listings that we had at the end of April. I think this really highlights the difference between property types. That detached market is still a little tighter and more competitive than kind of the market as a whole. It's the Toronto condo inventory that's really driving that active listing story. And that is where maybe as a buyer, you could get the best deals right now. As a seller, you may have to be the most realistic with your pricing and what the market is demanding right now. Let's take a look at sales volume across the Greater Toronto Area now. So again, this is that year over year comparison. And you can see that with the exception of 2020, 2025 came in as the slowest April that we have seen since going back to, this goes back to 2016, but even slower than years prior to that, with just shy of 5,200 sales reported in April. And again, when we break that down by region, looking at all property types, Toronto accounted for about 2,000 of those sales. Peel region in second place, if you will, at just over 900. Then you had York region at around 850. Durham region at 744 sales, and Halton region kind of bringing up the rear with 630 reported sales in April of 2025. What I want you to note here is that the trend is kind of peaking. We didn't see a huge uptick in sales activity from March to April in any of these markets here. And that's why it's important to dig into specific property types. When you look at detached homes, you can see that really, with the exception of York region, which kind of flattened out, everywhere else saw a decent uptick in detached sales from March to April, especially in that Toronto market. And an interesting trend that I found here was that Durham region actually saw the second most detached sales out of any region in the Greater Toronto area. And my theory here is that people are going to seek out either convenience, people want to be in Toronto, so maybe looking at those kind of Toronto suburbs, and I'm talking near Scarborough, so East End or West End, where you can find maybe a little bit more like affordable housing in Toronto. That's probably where the detached market was really driven here. But then you go to affordability next, and that's where Durham region really comes into play. We're going to get into price information a little bit later on in the video, but you're going to see that Durham's price point is still kind of the most attractive from an affordability standpoint. And again, with the expansion of the GO train, it's not that big of a headache to get into the city every single day if that's what you need to do. So the price tag is attractive for the convenience that Durham still offers. When we look at condo sales, it's really the opposite of what we saw happen in the detached segment. Condo sales fell off really in each market or stayed relatively flat. When you look at Durham region's super low sales volume of 44, Halton at 87, those kind of stayed flat. But York region was down, Peel region was down, and Toronto saw a big drop off from March reported sales to April reported sales in that condo apartment segment. One more quick recap then. Active inventory is up right across the board, heavily driven by Toronto and Toronto condos specifically. Sales are flat. Detached sales did increase. Those condo sales really dragged. And those are the two biggest markets in terms of housing type. So that's why I'm focusing on those two for this video. Condo sales down, detached sales up. How did that all translate into prices across the board? And we'll start by taking a look at the median sale price across the detached segment. So Durham region, that most affordable detached market, like I talked about, $940,000 was the median sale price of a detached home in Durham region. Then you have Peel region next, coming in at 1.2 million, up to Halton, just shy of 1.4 million at 1.361 million. Toronto held pretty steady month to month, coming in at 1.4 million for that median detached sale price. And York region was the most expensive detached market, coming in at $1.462 million. Doing this year-over-year comparison to median detached prices across the GTA, you can see that 2025 is relatively back in line with where we were in 2021 in terms of detached median sale prices. So across the entire GTA, you're looking at $1.26 million for that median detached price point. That is up from 1.255 last year at this time, but down from where we were in 2022, 2023, and 2024. Not quite back down to 2020 levels. Like that's still quite a big drop. But as we get through the year, you can see that this 2020 line, we are starting to see that acceleration, not quite to the peak that we saw in 2022, but we did see median prices start to rise at that point in time. So wouldn't surprise me, even if 2025 stays pretty flat for the rest of the year, to kind of get back to those 2020 price levels closer to the end of this year. But just as not all housing segments are the same, not all regions are the same as well. If we look at specific pockets, those 2025 prices are still up relative to 2021, where some are down. And the two examples I want to key on are first Durham region, the best region in the GTA for those of you who don't follow the channel and that's new information to you, definitely the best. We are still up from our 2021 prices by about $15,000, that median price in 2025. But if you hop over to Peel region, you're already seeing that median home prices have come down from where they were in 2021. So we're kind of getting into that middle band where prices really accelerated quickly, and we really skipped out on a lot of kind of incremental price growth in the Greater Toronto area. So we are shy by $25,000 from 2025 to where we were in 2021. And again, the rest of these lines all trend pretty similarly. We saw prices really start to increase through 2020 all the way up to the peak that we saw in 2022. Median prices are better than average prices in my opinion, because I think it does strip out some of that the property mix kind of errors that you will get in terms of more massive detached homes selling are going to really drag that average price up. If you're seeing a lot of kind of smaller bungalows selling, it's going to drag the average price down. Median strips it out a little bit better, but I do think benchmark price is the best thing to look at. And luckily for us, Treb has put out their benchmark price update. And I want to just dive into that to wrap this video up. Now, here's that benchmark trend. So the red line is Durham, light blue is Halton. This kind of, we'll call it a orange line is Peel. Up here at the top, we have Toronto detached single family. And then York region is this kind of, it's a pretty ugly green color. I didn't choose these colors, but that's what it is. Anyways, for the first time since 2022, we are seeing benchmark prices in April coming lower than they were in January. And this is right across the board. I know Toronto looks close, but this benchmark price is actually down by about $10,000 from January to where we are in April right now. So definitely, a trend to keep an eye on, as we are used to seeing in any other year. It makes it pretty easy. This dotted line is January, and then about here is April every single year, right? And you can see that even in 2018 and 2019, when markets, we saw more inventory, they were a little bit slower. Every single market segment still saw that benchmark price tick up from January to April. If you're in the camp that was looking for big price crashes in early 2025, based on what we saw with inventory happening, that's not the story yet. Median prices are pretty flat, benchmark prices are pretty flat, but I think there is some hope in the benchmark price for buyers, for people looking to get maybe better prices down the road. At a time of year when we're used to seeing them climb, they are on the decline right now. So prices usually get softer in the summertime before picking up maybe a little bit in the fall. We didn't see that bump in the spring, though, that then usually leads to that relatively softer market. So I want to know what you think in the comments below. Are we, imminently going to see prices come down pretty precipitously over the summertime, or do we continue on this kind of flat trajectory? Sellers are still able to kind of hold on. They don't have to sell necessarily, and we'll just see prices kind of stay flat from here through the rest of the year. If you have questions about anything I covered in today's video or want to talk about the market in general, there's a link in the description of this video where you can book a call directly with me in my calendar to talk about your home buying, home selling plans, just the market in general. I always love to talk shop and provide some insights into your specific situation. So book that link in the description below. Also, if you got some value out of this video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss updates like this going forward. I appreciate you all for sticking with me right through to the end of this video. Until we speak again next time, please stay safe and cheers.